Newz and Trendz with Dave and Lynn. I'm Dave Coker,
And I'm Leonard Young.
and we both want to thank you for tuning in again. Um, I'm Dave Coker of Dave Mark Inc., and I am a promoter and event planner, and I have my partner Leonard Young with us. And hey, guy, what's going on?
Good. Nothing much. How was your weekend?
Made it through.
Okay.
That's all that matters.
Lord have mercy.
There we go. That's that's the important thing, that we make it through.
Yeah, definitely.
And I made it through, and I can't complain.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
how about yourself? You do anything exciting?
Now, actually, my son has swim meets just about all weekend, so we were in Seaford, Delaware.
Okay, you bring home any gold medals or anything?
He did not bring home gold, but he did good.
He did good?
Yeah,
Okay.
one of the things that makes a father feel proud.
Okay, well, considering that we have a near Olympic swimmer that I'm talking to right now, this dude was a fisher in the water, himself. So,
Yeah, I mean, I was all right,
You were all right? Okay.
Won a couple gold medals, set a couple records,
I was going to say, he was being a little modest. I knew that was coming sooner or later, so, but that, hey, what can you say? When you sit with celebrities and you talk with celebrities, then you're nearby a celebrity. And that's how I feel at the moment. I'm nearby a celebrity, so this guy, now he's teaching his son to come up and be a fish like him. And, we might have our next Olympic swimmer coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know. Well, and just real quick, when I came to swimming, there were really no black people swimming.
Okay.
And, it's such a great feeling now that when I go to his swim meets, probably at least 40% of the people there are of color, Indian, Asian, or, African American. So, good to see too.
Well, it's good that we're making trends. I mean, when we look at everything, there was a lot of sports that we were not included in as we were coming up, especially when our parents or grandparents were coming up. They could tell you there were just certain sports that you were not going to be able to play or participate in.
Yeah.
And I want to just mention that one of our pioneers in one of those sports that passed away recently, Lee Elder.
Oh yeah,
golfer. And since you brought that up, I just wanted to pay homage to him in reference to being one of those people who was a trailblazer and stepped out there and got into a sport that we wasn't playing. I mean, and he broke through the color lines and was able to do the things that were necessary to open the doors for other people.
Right. And, when that happened, one of the things I saw about him too was that he got a lot of death threats,
Yes,
going to some of the different country clubs. So not only was he a pioneer, but, he was a man of courage.
And he was fooling around down there in the South,
Right,
where he wasn't supposed to be. Because, Augusta was notorious for not letting us in.
Right.
And that was the first one that he got into, and, they didn't want him there. They really didn't want him there. But, he, like a lot of the pioneers and trailblazers, like a Jackie Robinson and some of the others, he was able to open the door up for people to be able to come there and play. And, so now, even though we don't have still a big representation in pro golf as we should, there's people coming.
Yeah, definitely. And, I almost feel like sometimes it only takes one person to kind of change everybody's opinion.
Yeah.
So, I think even though Tiger Woods, I think I heard he's about to retire.
Yeah.
But, even though he retired, he was so great at what he does that even if he's not actively in the game, people are still respecting people of color maybe not respecting. People of color is not anything it's a lot more normal than it is now, and just kind of like tennis, Venus and Serena.
Yeah.
So like now when you see little black girls playing tennis, it's not like you can't reference them to greatness like you can.
Right, and there's quite a few black young ladies on the pro tennis circuit right now. So, but going back to Lee Elder and the Tiger Woods reference that you just made, Tiger's father was a big fan of Lee Elder.
And
that's the reason that he got Tiger involved in golf, because Lee Elder was one of his idols, and it was somebody that he looked up to. So there you go. When you have that type of reference to go to and be able to see that, that's why you get people like Venus and Serena and some of the other people that we've had, like a Tiger and so forth, to be able to smash those color lines. Not just walk through the door, but they're smashing.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I mean, it's probably disputed whether he's one of the greatest golfers, in the game.
Well, it's not really a dispute.
I mean,
look, they got Jack Nicklaus won more golf majors, but nobody dominated for that period of time like Tiger did. And then just think about the galleries and the people that used to follow him.
Yeah.
When he won that last tournament, it was crazy. It was bananas. I watched that. It was bananas just watching how those people were reacting out there. So nobody had that kind of crowd.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that since we were talking about the swimming and everything and pioneers and having the opportunity to be in sports that we normally would never be in. I wanted to make sure we paid homage to Lee Elder since he just passed away. So.
Yeah.
But let's go to our next story. First story.
Yep. So Dave, the first story I was going to talk about. So I'm not sure if you heard, and actually when I heard it, I almost thought I was like, hold on, I gotta see what this looks like because this doesn't even make sense. But there was an actress who is from Ghana, and I'm not going to pronounce her name, but it's Akuapem Polo. And she is kind of under fire right now because she had a photo shoot for her son's, I believe, 7th birthday.
Right.
And in the photo shoot, she posed nude with her son, who was just wearing underwear. And I think what makes it so bad on top of that, she published it on social media. So, of course, she got a lot of backlash. And, there was a lot of difference of opinion. Some people think it's artistic. Some of them think he is just too damn old. But, it's crazy. So, for any of our listeners, if you're listening, you gotta make sure you Google this story. And, like when I saw the picture, like it just didn't look right. Her son is
he's not a little guy.
No, he's not.
He's not a little guy.
I mean, he's basically too damn grown to be taking. I'm sorry. She is wrong. He is too damn grown for her to be taking that picture with him.
Right. And a lot of people have weighed in. I know I saw that Cardi B weighed in on this. And what was her comment about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, her comment was basically saying, so the part I left off is that looks like she's going to be getting, in fact, I forget how long in jail. I think it was like 90 days in jail.
Right. Okay.
So, Cardi B weighed in saying that she thought the sentencing was too harsh and that she's seen a lot of Americans do photo shoots like that. I'm not sure where she's looking because I ain't never seen none of those.
Well, I think I kind of know where she's coming from because but maybe not with a child that old. I've seen some with 3 and 4 year olds.
Yeah, with babies and infants.
Yeah, and I get where she's coming from, but when you look at that kid and you look at the size of the kid and you look at and I have to say, and I'm because when you guys go to Google this and if any of you guys want to make a comment on this as we're talking about it, just go ahead and put it in the chat there on our page there. But when you look at the young lady, I mean, she's a very attractive person, and and when you look at it and you're saying, okay, because she has other pictures. Did you see the other pictures of her? The way she normally dressed and stuff like that. There were other pictures of her.
No, I didn't.
So she's a progressive mom. You could tell she's not. She's not old.
Now, when you say progressive, for anyone who's listening who may wonder what you mean, like.
Well, she's 30. Was she?
Yeah, I mean, she got to be mid-30s.
Yeah, I think she was like 30. I thought I read she was like 32 or something like that. But anyway, she is 32.
Yeah, 32.
Yeah, I thought I saw that. Okay, and so she's when you look at the picture, she dresses pretty modern. The dress that you see with a lot of young people these days or whatever. And I could tell that she probably never thought anything of this.
Right.
I mean, there's other pictures with her with some with clothes on, of course. And, they seem like they're very close or whatever the case may be. But then this could be a cultural thing too, because she's not from here. And, I don't know. It's something that, it's going to cause a lot of debate. I'm sure there's a lot of comments about it.
Oh, tons of them.
Yeah. And it's going to be talked about. But the 90 days, what do you think about that? What do you think about the 90 days?
Just to add some clarity. So she's not an American.
Right.
She's living in Ghana.
Right.
So, we know different countries have different set of rules.
Yes.
And we also know, and even, we know how Middle Eastern culture is towards women. We're not sure about Ghanaian culture towards women, but, I almost feel like anybody seeing this picture in any culture kind of raises an eyebrow to it. So, I think, to be honest, I think 90 days is appropriate and maybe even light.
Okay. So do you think she should register as a sex offender? Because that would happen here.
Yeah. No,
if there was a law, if she was brought before the law saying that she did something because if that was a male.
Yeah. And those were a lot of the comments right there.
Yeah. If that was a male,
if that was
would
a
be a
male,
whole different story.
Yeah, no, it would. In fact, as soon as it got to social media, it'd be taken down immediately.
Yeah.
He'd probably be taken into custody immediately, and that child would be taken from him.
And let me ask another question. Let me take it even deeper, because we're the subjects that we're going to be talking about tonight is going to kind of center around a lot of what we're saying now in reference to what I'm about to say. But does race come into play here?
So
if this person was white, let's say if it was a Kardashian doing it.
In America or in Ghana?
That's a good question. In Ghana, what would you think would happen?
Oh, jail.
Okay. In America?
If it was a white person doing this?
Well, let's say.
So, I mean, to be honest, I think it would be the same. Like, I just don't see how you get around this issue. Now, how do you feel about it? If it was a white person, let's say it was a Kardashian, taking a picture with her 7-year-old son.
Right.
What do you think would be the criticism or the penalty?
I just think they would say and if it was Kim or Chloe or one of the other sisters, they would probably just say, oh, that's just them being them, getting attention, going for attention again. And it probably would get brushed off because of how many people they had following them and how many people support them. They love those women.
Yeah,
people love those women, man.
And we already know how many followers.
Yeah, we know. You go.
They probably add up to darn near a billion all of them.
I mean, so they probably can weather that storm and be able to continue on with their lives. But if this was somebody of color, I don't think that would happen.
No, not. I mean, definitely not in America. And the other thing is, so like we know this person's in Ghana. And we know they are, I guess, an actress / singer, but they may not have that mass appeal, so.
Well, they will now.
Maybe.
Yeah, because maybe they did this to get that appeal. I mean, you got a person like Cardi B commenting.
Yeah.
And Cardi B stays in contact with her. If this person has if this person has some real talent, she could be on the come up.
Yeah, I mean, she could, I definitely think this would get her a lot of fans because I think for the average person, like when I first heard it, I was like, oh, I got to see what this looked like. And, I looked for it on Instagram. I didn't see it. But, of course, after I saw the picture, I mean, I didn't follow her because that's just not me. But I could definitely, it's almost like controversy builds appeal.
And that's where we are these days.
Yeah.
That's how you get, I mean, let's keep it real. It was controversy that built the whole Kardashian clan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
And they built it all off of Kim's back
right.
side.
Well, yeah, definitely,
Right.
definitely. So it's and even goes back further than that. Because the mother had her little controversy moment too with
Well, prior to Kim?
yeah, because they said that
Oh,
she,
yeah. Okay. Her
supposedly had
her
affair,
OJ.
supposedly, allegedly, as we say,
Right.
as we put it out
Allegedly.
there. So we just have to look at controversy will put you in that position to be someone who people want to get to know and people want to follow. And you can tell if you go Google this person, you're going to see that she, is definitely got to be something to it that I just don't see her just doing that picture out of saying, oh, this is going to be a cute picture. I just don't see that. I think it was something behind it. And I think she was trying to get noticed and she's gotten noticed.
Yeah, she definitely. And
Yeah. So, but that's where we are these days. And that's, as the night, this seems to be the theme for tonight. So,
yep. And Instagram, social media.
Yeah. So that's where we are. So.
Gosh, okay. So I mean, we'll wish you luck and
good luck.
Right.
I'm sure we're going to see you again.
Right. So the next story I saw too, where I was like, it almost you listen to the Breakfast Club?
Yes, I do listen to
where
the Breakfast Club.
Charlemagne has the Jackass of the Week, the Ass of the Week.
Yes.
So there was a guy out of Owings Mills, Maryland, who not only was he producing fake vaccination cards and selling them for $75, but I guess he figured his marketing wasn't on point, so he started promoting his fake vaccination cards on social media, right? And he even said, and I forget the quote exactly, but he's like, I'm going to be rich. And he actually did the math on social media where he's like, if one vaccination card costs $75 and I'm doing 60 a day, I'm making this much money a month. And I think it might have been like $30,000 a month. So, it's just funny. And of course, I know your line of work and, how do you feel? Well, I mean, we already know the answer about the vaccination card. I mean, that's just dumb. But is it that easy for people to make vaccination cards?
Well, it's easy to make anything nowadays. I mean, after all, if you make a copy of it, you print it. I mean, we got these 3D printers now that can make anything.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, I think we talked last week about, or I think I mentioned it about Antonio Brown that plays for. Plays for the Tampa Bay Bucks now, and how he got suspended because he had a fake vaccination card, and he got suspended and fined because of it. It's a big thing right now. First of all, look, people have been making fake things for years.
Right, fake everything.
Fake everything. If you want a Michael Kors bag bad enough, you can go somewhere and get a knockoff with, and it looks just as good as the one that you pay a bunch of money for. So nowadays people are just looking for that edge to make money. It's we're a very gullible nation right now. That's why there's so many scams. That's why there's so many schemes to get rich right now. That's why you got all the cryptocurrency and everything going on right now. Is because everybody's trying to make that money in a quick way.
Yeah.
We're in a microwave society. Everything's about getting money fast. So if you take somebody who's willing to do something like that, and it's one thing if you do it. Another thing is if you publicize it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So
almost like telling everybody you
telling
guilty.
Everybody.
Come get me.
Yeah. It's like telling it's like saying, hey, I just robbed a bank. If you need some money, come get some from me. I got some for you. No, it's just not a smart thing to do. It is a federal. It is a federal.
What you want to do? You want to start?
Something. Go.
Huh? The thing fell out. Michael.
All right. Sorry, folks. I think we heard or didn't hear. We had some technical difficulties there. But I hope you guys are still there and you stay with us or whatever the case may be. But we were talking about this story about the fake vaccination cards. I don't know how much you might have missed, but they're talking about this guy who thought he was smart, but apparently wasn't smart in reference to making these cards and trying to get rich off of it. Apparently, off of, right now it's the whole thing around the vaccinations and COVID period is a real touchy subject with a lot of people. It's unfortunate that we have people that will buy something like that from a person like this in order to get around the system. Now, of course, a lot of people are losing their jobs right now because you have to be vaccinated to keep working at some of these locations. So because of that, you have to make sure that you have something proving that you're vaccinated. Now, if you're going to go to a guy like this and buy something like this, shame on you. It is a federal offense, by the way.
Yeah, so, part of the article is talking about he's getting 20 years in prison.
Yeah,
so.
Well, and did it say, it didn't say, whether this was a person of color or not, did it?
Yeah, we already know, who it was.
Yeah, okay, all right, so because of that, of course, that person's going to be made example of, so, it's not like you can walk around with an AR-15 gun, a rifle, and shoot a couple of people and wound another person and get away with it.
No,
Not
at all.
That's because we are not that fortunate to be able to do that. So this guy's probably going to get jail time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely going to get it.
But
how much money did they say? How much money he made?
They didn't say how much money they made. They said that he sold 600 vaccination cards. So apparently it looks like he was going on a foreign website and having the cards shipped to him, probably like the blank cards shipped to him, and then he was completing the cards and selling them. So part of the article also talks about.
So he's dealing with people that are already on, that have the blank cards.
Yeah, out of the country though. So I'm sure that
it doesn't matter. They're doing it though, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's, crazy for him. Another part of the article talks about he just got out of jail in April for some child porn charges as well. So
he has potentially made over $45,000.
Potentially, yes.
Wow,
that's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah. Wow. I see what he's looking at. That's $75 a pop, and he sold 600 of it. Woo. Okay.
No, that right there buys some quick
money for him, and that's tax-free money.
Yep.
But
the question is, and this is where when I talk about Charlemagne, the ass of the week, how did he think that he was not going to get caught advertising on social media? Like that. Like, that's the part to me that is just like, okay, maybe there's something more wrong with him than just, being like a criminal. Because it's like, okay, like, who commits a crime and then promotes it?
It's first of all, for him to come up with this, the only way, I don't even want to get into that, but I'm just going to say, he didn't think this through. That's all I'm going to say. He didn't think this through.
And he didn't have anybody closest to him.
No.
What the hell are you doing?
No, he didn't have. Obviously, he didn't have anybody tell him, "Don't do it." So yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, let's hope he. We see him again in 20 years. Right. Because he's gonna, or at least 15. So. And by that time, he probably won't have to do that again. It'll probably be over by then, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So.
Or I'm not sure what COVID is like in jail or how fast it's spreading, how well they're protected, but the stuff we hear doesn't sound the greatest either. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he won't need that card there. So, so definitely. So.
All right. Well, yeah.
Yep. So we will see what happens.
See what happens with
Yep.
that.
For anyone just tuning in, this is News and Trends with Dave and Lynn. You know, we're talking all things current events. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you like us. Make sure you download the Podbean app. Follow us and like us on there too. So you know, the last story that this week I was like, man, I just can't believe it, even though I can believe it because I do own some property, so I know, real estate appraisal is such a crazy thing because every appraiser is going to appraise your house different.
Right.
Just for the backstory, there was a black couple in California who was interested in selling their house. They had an appraiser come and appraise their house, and then appraise for a certain amount, which they thought was kind of low compared to the neighborhood and what the other houses were selling for. They ended up getting one of their friends or neighbors so they ordered another appraisal. They had one of their friends or neighbors be present for the second appraisal. They took down anything in the house that distinguished that the family was black. So, pictures, anything cultural. They put up pictures of white people, anything that looked white. And when I guess a different appraiser came to reappraise their house, and it appraised for $500,000 more. So, I mean, clearly this is the $1 million house. And, it's just so crazy that that's happening in today's time. And, one of the things that it kind of made me think of, and I won't dig deep into this, but how people always talk about reparations.
Yep.
And I'm a proponent of reparations. Like,
Right.
Give us the money that you owe us. And, situations like this are what makes me think about it, because throughout generations, African Americans have been getting robbed on their housing appraisal, housing sales. And, this is just an example. Like, luckily, they knew better to try to get a second appraisal and switch some stuff up. But, think about how many families are getting cheated by $10, $20, $30, $40,000, in appraisal money for selling their house. I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, the West Coast was one of those areas that definitely was one of the leading areas that had people, when people moved out to the West Coast of color, they were getting raped for the fees, the housing costs and everything. When they moved out there, they were paying, their interest was always much higher than what the people, the minorities were paying at that time. So, and this goes back to the 40s, 50s, and the 60s, and even though they were allowing people to move into those neighborhoods, they basically were just hitting them over the head with all these fees and these interest charges. And a lot of the people would move in, but end up losing their homes because they couldn't afford to pay for those homes at the fees that they were paying. Now, if you think about it, also, now I worked in banking for 10 years and in credit card banking. One of the things that was a very familiar thing and very the tactic that was used often was that of when they would send out the pre-approved letters
Offer
and
letters.
everything, offer letters. So when they would send those letters, those pre-approved letters, I worked in the credit department, and I would be sitting there, and I would watch the ones that were getting approved, and then I would see the ones that were not getting approved, even though they were supposedly pre-approved. Like the ones that were getting approved, all they had to do was just sign the thing, and they would
they just sign it.
they would sign it, send it back,
loan.
and they would get the credit card, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, whatever, and they would get it. But then some of the other people would sign the same type of paperwork, and they would get denied, or they had to have a credit check done, and then other things had to be sent in to so that they can get the same money or the same type of card. So then I started asking questions.
Yeah, because I was about to say, what are they? Were they judging on names?
They were judging on zip codes in the area that people were living in.
Okay.
So if you lived in Wilmington in 19802, you were getting that pre-approved notice that said that you had to verify
some additional information.
and we were going to check your credit.
Mm-hmm.
But if you lived in 19703 or let's say another affluent area,
19711
the Hokesson, that's 19707.
Okay.
You know, everybody was getting approved in 19707.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, you know, so there were so that's when you started realizing that they were definitely keeping track of those things. The analytics and all of that kind of stuff was definitely there. And also, of course, if you were born in Delaware, you know, during a certain period of time, your social security number also told what color you were too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
So you got to be of age to know a little bit. That middle number would tell whether you were black or not.
Hold on. So what was that range? Because I'm
curious. It was even numbers.
Yeah, okay.
Would say
I'm black then.
Yeah. There you go. And the odd numbers would say that you were white.
Now, was that white and non-white?
Non-white.
Or was that white and black?
It was mainly white and black because we
we
would test it. You know, I would test it when I was in banking. I saw a lot of this stuff, so we would test it, and it was not. It was blacks versus whites. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things were done. So this type of story doesn't surprise me. And it's good that those people had enough sense to do that because they probably were getting screwed.
Yeah,
and especially in today's housing market because all over the country
it's red hot.
It's red hot right now. So, you know, and if you sell a home these days, a decent home, you should be able to get real good money these days.
Yeah. I mean, I probably definitely say your asking price. So I don't think it's as competitive because you remember like late last year, early this year, like people were overbidding just to get stuff. And, you know, the other thing this article reminded me of is employment. And, you know, like I've heard the stories of when resumes come in to some of these HR people, they're looking at the names, and if that name sounds ethnic, you know, it's on to the next one.
The practice of a lot of people from Asians or Oriental people of Oriental descent and also Indian descent, their practice was to change their name, Americanize their names so that when they came here to the United States, a lot of them would come here for school or whatever the case may be. They were Americanize their names so that they can get proper, you know, be able to have proper chances at being able to get the things that they wanted to get while they were here and be able to open up their businesses or whatever they did after school. But, you know, that's why, you know, when you meet somebody like that and their name is David or something like that, they'd be like, okay, what's your real name?
Right.
And they definitely have another name.
But, you know, some of them get offended too.
Oh, yeah. But they do admit to having another name.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because I got a call today too. And, in my mind, I already knew what the ethnicity is, and he says, "Yeah, my name is Steve," and I'm like, okay, like your name is not Steve, your name is not Steve. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's just crazy. But you know, like going back to like what I said about reparations, like there's so many times and so many situations, whether it's real estate, education, careers, healthcare, where, you know, we're getting the short end of the stick. Sometimes we don't know it. Like, you know, it's almost like, you know, you don't know what you don't know. Like if the doctor tells you something, you know, we didn't go to med school, so we can't dispute everything. But, you know, this is just one of those things where it just kind of made me angry because when we talk about creating and maintaining generational wealth, you know, this is how wealth is being stolen from us.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know, you talked about the healthcare and even with the treatment of how people are getting treated. I know I had a healthcare scare, you know, a few years ago, and the doctor was going to give me a certain medication, and he just assumed that this was what he was going to give me, and I had to take for this period of time. And when he said something to me, he said, well, you're going to have to give yourself a shot 3 times a day. And I said, that ain't happening. I ain't going to do that because that's not how I roll, like that. I said, I messed that up, because I just wouldn't do it.
And then, hold on, you wouldn't do it, or you don't want
Well, I just knew myself.
Okay,
I wouldn't do it. Not meaning that I was going to just be obstinate or anything. I just knew myself.
Yeah.
Because I knew it'd be hard for me to remember to take a pill, so.
Right.
So.
But you didn't have a problem shooting yourself with a needle if you remember.
I can't say that 100% either. I mean, these people that are diabetic and they have to take insulin, I admire you when you have to, dealing with the shots that you have to do every day. I always say, I know people that are diabetic and they have to do that. And I say, wow, I don't know if I could do that, but of course, if you want to live, you do certain things. But in this particular case, I was like, that's the only medicine you can give me? And they said, well, there's one other thing. They said, but he said, well, what kind of insurance? The doctor said, what kind of insurance do you have? I thought it was an odd question at the moment because I was like, why would you ask me that?
Because he wanted to know what his cuts are going to be.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, does it, and I'm saying, okay, this has to do with his pockets or whatever. And I said, well, I work for who I work for. And he just smiled. He said, oh, you got better insurance than I got. And I said, yeah. I said, he said, well, we can go with this other medicine, and because the other medicine was higher and he didn't think I was going to be able to afford it.
Yeah. And depending on your insurance, they may not have covered that medicine.
And they may not have covered, but my insurance covered that medicine. But just the fact that he asked me that question kind of threw me for a loop for a moment because I was like, here we go, because I felt that way at the time. And when I said, oh, I got this, he was like, oh, you do? Okay, all right. And, of course, I was able to get the medicine that and I had to do it, and it was a pill.
So, I guess my question, what do you think there was a generic version of that medicine? Because, I feel like the other thing that happens to us is there's the prescribed medicine,
right. And
there's a generic medicine.
And they don't always tell us.
Both of them are pretty much similar.
Yeah.
And if they are, give me the generic medicine.
Yeah.
I don't need to pay double or triple for the same thing.
But this one was actually the name brand of that medicine. But because I had that insurance, I was able to get it.
But even with that, I wonder if you didn't have the insurance, if he would have given you the same exact generic version. But I mean, I don't know. But it's the fact that he didn't even, it wasn't at first they were just going to give me that other stuff, which I knew would have been an issue for me. And it turned out, he gave me the stuff that he did, and that worked for me at the time. So, and it's, that's where we are. Everything kind of ties together when it comes to these type of things. So for that couple, I commend them for doing what they did. Of course, I know they probably got a little bit of backlash too, because people probably thought they were being underhanded or whatever the case may be. So I'm not.
They didn't do anything that other folks wouldn't do.
Yeah, I mean they definitely did, and when I was so I was just looking at the article a little more. So originally, their house praised at $1 million, right, a little less than $1 million, and they said what drew their concern was, they had a lot of renovations done. Prior to the renovations, their house was around $900,000. So they were like, hold up, we did all these renovations just for it to appraise $100,000 more. So when it got reappraised, then it was just under 1.5 million. So
yeah. Well, we know what that was all about, and it's a good thing that they were able to get the money that they felt they deserved. Now, did they sell that? They did sell the house, right?
So it doesn't. It doesn't.
Or
really say,
did they just want to know what it was worth?
Yeah. So I mean, they probably maybe they're trying to do a refi or something to get more. But like the other thing the article says too, which is kind of weird, is they had to push their mortgage company for a second appraisal. Like the mortgage company, you know how it is. Like they want to stick with whatever number
Yeah.
you give them.
Yeah.
And, they really had to push to get that second appraisal. And that's where they brought in their white friend to kind of pose as the homeowners. The white friend brought over pictures of his family, put them up
Wow.
in the house.
That's
So
deep.
yeah, so I'm like, it's just crazy how that works.
Well, hey, look, I ain't mad at him.
Yeah, I'm
Personally,
not
I'm
mad
not.
at him.
I'm not. So, and it's a shame that we even have to go that route in order to get something that we should get. Like you said, reparations. What's that line in Rihanna's song? Pay me what you owe me.
Oh yeah.
So that's where we should be. Definitely. All right. Well, I mean, my hat's off to you folks. You are listening to Dave and Lynn in Newz and Trendz. Please feel free to comment and on our page if you have any questions or thoughts or concerns. We would love to hear from you, and thank you for listening so far. We're going to keep it moving. I'm going to do my little sports spot right here. I'm a big Eagle fan, so I have to say the good win for the Eagles this week. The Eagles look good. I just have, I'm happy about the win. I just have a little thought or chat for two, as they say. The whole thing that happened this weekend, the Eagles quarterback, Jalen Hurts, was hurt this week. Hurts was hurt, this week. And he had a bum ankle. The Eagles they played Sunday, and then they're on a bye for 10 days, so they don't have to play for 10 days, which is giving Hurts a chance to get healthy because they decided that they were not going to play him on Sunday. Now, generally for people that are athletes and people that know football and other sports, know that this is probably a good thing. They were playing a team that they should beat, the New York Jets. It was a team that had been on a downward spiral, and it was a team that they should be able to beat on a regular basis. They didn't really need Jalen Hurts to win the game, so they played their backup, Minshew, who is the backup on the team, Garner Minshew. And he played. Now, he's a white quarterback. He's been with the team. This is his first season with the team. They picked him up about a couple months ago in a trade. And he comes in and has a great game. Matter of fact, he has such a great game. He was the number one rated quarterback on Sunday. And his rating was through the roof. I mean, of course, you knew, for those of us who kind of knew the backdrop of the whole Jalen Hurts thing, because the Eagles have been playing around with him all season long and blaming him for things and, so forth. You kind of knew what was going to happen when he showed up on the field, that he was going to have a great game, and he did. And the Eagles won, of course. But now we have a classic thing going on. Because now, for the next 10 days, we got to hear about, should they play Minshew or should they play Hurts when the Eagles play again, and they play the Washington football team, the former Redskins, on their next game. So everybody's saying a lot of people are saying Minshew should play because he had such a great game. Well, there's a certain group of people that are saying Jalen Hurts should play. And, of course, that group is, here we go again, blacks and people of color who are saying Hurts should not lose his spot and he should be able to play if he's healthy enough. We always seem to have this black and white thing going on. Since we've been on with this podcast, it seemed to be the whole theme of the podcast in some way or another, So it's never going to go away. It's even in sports, it's even more apparent. We talked about, how we've had to bust through doors in order to be able to play,
Have to be accepted.
And here's another situation. Jalen Hurts has done everything he's been asked. He's been a model citizen on that football team. And because this boy comes out and he has a great game and he doesn't look like him, all of a sudden they're rooting for him to be the guy. I personally, as an Eagle fan, want the Eagles to win. Hoping they have a shot to still make the playoffs, so forth. I just want to know what people think about that as far as should Hurts lose his job because he's hurt, and this guy comes in and has a good game. Does that mean that he should lose his job? Well, what do you think? And I know you're not a big football fan, but I know you have an opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm a natural athlete as well.
Yeah.
So, but so like my whole opinion is this. I think it really depends on the sport. So like if we're dealing with a sport where somebody has a personal best that is documented, I think it makes a difference. So like let's say we're talking about track. Okay, if I get injured and I'm the leg of the relay and my best time is a 20.0. And somebody else comes in and they wow them with a 19.9, then I would say give it to that person because they've demonstrated that on an all fair opportunity, they did a better job. Like they are actually the faster person. Football, I always think of any given Sunday, so I mean, clearly, even though Wentz was hurt, he could have come in that game and dominated too. Like we just don't know. And
Hurts, you mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Hurts.
Don't say that other name.
Yeah. So I mean, my whole thing is okay.
And not to interrupt you, but you brought up the name Wentz. There was a big controversy last year.
Yeah, I mean the only reason I brought it up because the article here
right.
got his name.
Yeah, but there was a controversy last year with him and with Hurts and Wentz too. But go ahead.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
So I mean, long story short, Hurts has played that role. The team has prepared for him in that role. And, I kind of feel like switching stuff mid-season on a Hail Mary.
Yep.
It just doesn't make sense. Now, devil advocate, that's not to say that Minshew could come in there and dominate, win the Super Bowl but, it's just one of the things where, one time doesn't always prove ability and success. And I mean, like we all get lucky.
They were supposed to beat that team yesterday. It doesn't matter what quarterback was in there. That team should have got beat regardless of who was in there. But you can't have a person like lose their job because this guy comes in and he has the game of his life yesterday. Now, of course, we know a backup can come in and get hot at the right time and win a Super Bowl because it happened back in 2017.
Right.
And so we know, as Eagle fans, we know that it does happen. But we just have to keep an eye on the story and pay attention to what's going on because even though the Philadelphia, I listen to WIP a lot, the sports station in Philadelphia. I've been listening to it for a long time. And they won't say it. Well, they allude to it a lot, and there's certain hosts on there that are black and whatever, and they'll allude to it, but they won't say it. It's always going to be a race issue, especially at the quarterback position. That position has always been a lightning rod.
So, I almost want to disagree with you on that one. So I personally don't think it's a race issue. And so here, I'll put it like this. So for those of you who didn't know, my partner here played college football for D1, D1 college football. So if you're in the locker room, not even the locker room. So if you're on the football team, and were you offense, defense?
Offense.
Okay. So if you're offense, and you're rocking with your quarterback, the first half of the season, he gets hurt. Somebody else comes in, does a great job. You know what they've done in practice, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm curious how the players feel because, I think how I would really feel is I know what people like, because the game is a game. Anything can happen in the game. You know what I mean? Like that's just what it is. But who's better in practice? Because the better quarterback I see in practice is going to be the one who I'm going to trust more in the game, regardless if they get lucky and score 18 touchdowns or we get shut out.
Well, I'm going to say this. Sometimes it's not always about who's the best quarterback or the best player. Um, you know, the Eagles did all they could not to play Jalen Hurts last year when Carson Wentz was there. They tried not to play it, and it came from actually the top guy, Jeff Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, when he told the coach, put him in there. You know, now they had all this money invested in Wentz, and they said Wentz has to play because that's where the money is.
Right.
You know, but he was horrible last year, and of course. Once Wentz was taken out of the game, Wentz shut down, and he never went back in another game after that. You know, and then the next thing you know, he wanted to be out. So sometimes, and Wentz definitely has proven that he was the better of the two quarterbacks. I mean, that year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, Wentz was having an MVP season until he got hurt. But he wasn't there at the end.
Yeah.
And the person who was there at the end got all the accolades because he was there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The same thing happened here. If Hurts doesn't get back in there, the person could happen. The same thing could happen again.
Gotcha.
So, but anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. We're going to pay attention to that story and see how it unfolds. Fortunately enough, we got 10 days to wait and see what all the propaganda is going to be about over the next 10 days. So we'll go from there. Anyway, wanted to lead into our next thing. And as you can see, our show kind of has a little theme tonight, and we have to apologize for that in some ways, but it is relevant, though. I mean, everything that we're talking about tonight has been relevant, and I want to get into something a little different right now. Right now, we're in a world of influencers.
Social media. Okay. And I took the time, and I wanted to talk about this. I took the time to look up the definition of what an influencer is. It says it's a person. Here's I got two definitions for you folks. One says a person with the ability to influence potential buyers or of a product or service by promoting or recommending the item on social media. We've seen that. We know that that's possible, mm-hmm. and we know that people have been able to do that. Basically like a salesperson.
Yeah. It says influencers can add serious credibility to your brand. That's the overdraft to that. Then the other definition says one who exerts influence, a person who inspires or guides the actions of others. The old theme of laziness and mellowness runs counters to today's influencers who are business people and upscale inspirational promoters of a go-getter way of life.
Okay.
That's basically where we are right now with this whole thing. And I said to myself as I was trying to figure out stuff that I wanted to talk about today, and I said, let me just take a look at our top influencers of today. Okay. Now, according to the website that I looked up, this is our top 10 influencers of today.
All right, let's shoot.
Okay. Cristiano Ronaldo. For those who don't know who that is, he's one of the top soccer players in the world. 373.8 million followers.
Ridiculous.
I can't get 10. This guy got 373 million.
Right. And we only have 260 million people in America?
There you go. Okay. The second person on this list is also a soccer player, Leo Messi. 287.3 million. Crazy. Okay. He's in Argentina, by the way. Cristiano Ronaldo, I think, is in the same area. I think he's over in that area, too. Number 3 was Selena Gomez.
Unbelievable, because I barely know who she is.
Yeah, I know who she is. I know who she is. She's a singer and so forth, entertainer, performer. 277.5 million. Okay.
Crazy.
Then we have Kendall Jenner. Now, I know everybody knows who Kendall Jenner is. She's one of the, well, she's not actually a Kardashian, but of course everybody calls her part of the clan,
Yeah,
you know,
they all roll with the same clique.
Yeah. 203 million. What does she do?
I don't know.
Okay,
She
all
doesn't do
right,
anything.
okay, but she's, you know, she's a
But
fashionista
But
type person.
she will sell the hell out of some makeup.
Yeah, there you go. Well, they all do. You know, so number 5, right behind her, I think you've heard this name before, Kim Kardashian West, 267.5 million. This is crazy, folks. That's the top 5. Okay, number 6, Ariana Grande. Of course, everybody knows who she is. She's a singer. 280 million. Then we have a guy, Virat Kohli. He's a soccer player too, if I'm not mistaken. 171.7 million. Okay.
No, cricket.
Cricket. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cricket. I'm sorry. Cricket player. Then number 8, Taylor Swift. Everybody knows Taylor Swift. 189 million. Then we have another singer performer. Her name is Lisa. Lala Lisa.
I'm about to say never heard of her.
Yeah, neither Leonard or I heard of this one.
We too old for
Yeah, we're too old for this. She has 68.7 million. Then we have Zendaya, 112.3 million. Okay. Now that's the top 10. I threw one more in because you guys might recognize her. Her name is Beyonce, and you guys might have heard of her before, I think.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Beyonce had 222 million. Okay. So Beyonce, you know, she's up there too. But she's the first person of color to be on this list.
But I mean, if you think about it, who would be above her of color? Oh, I'm sorry, African American, because they have the Indian and the Asian girl.
That's a good question.
Nobody. I mean,
no, I guess you're right. Yeah, but do you think she should be in the top 10?
I mean, probably not, because you know, like when we think about it, you know,
I don't know who this Lisa person is. I know who Beyonce is.
I mean, here she is right now.
I know, but she ain't Beyonce.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
She definitely. But so for those who can't see, La Lisa appears to be Asian. So I mean, you know, those Asian countries have tons.
There you go.
How many people in China and Japan and Southeast Asia too.
Well, when you think about it, you know, when you look at these lists, and these people have become people like if they say red is my favorite color, everybody go out and buy red. Everybody's going out and buy red.
And
you know,
their influence.
Yeah, you know, if they wear a certain shoe, or if they wear a certain coat, or if they wear certain makeup, everybody's going out and buy it. You know, Rihanna, who's also on that list, Rihanna, she's not in the top 10, but she's on the list. Rihanna has the makeup line Fenty, you know, and she's done very well. Rihanna hasn't had to put out any music because of her makeup line.
Yeah.
That's going crazy. And lingerie too. So, you know, this is what people, every time, you know, people like that do something, everybody goes out and buy it. And we know, look, have we ever known anything that the Kardashians done?
I mean, you talking about besides Ray J? And
Black
Man?
Yeah.
You talking about that?
Yeah, well, we know about that. But when you think about it, though, what talent do they have? None of them sing.
None.
No. Kim has done a little bit of acting. You know, Chloe's done a little bit of acting. But
yeah, I mean, they really have done.
They just put their name on things, you know. You know, and that's what happened. So what I wanted to get into a little bit more, it says, I wanted to find out who would you say, if we really looked at influencers as a person who influences not for the silly stuff that a lot of these people do, but like something that you would call like real, influencers. Who would you say would be a real influencer?
I mean, it's kind of hard because, I think the people who we would traditionally feel should be influencers just aren't. So it's kind of like, okay, like if we let's say school age kids, 18 and under, like if we thought a teacher was going to be an influencer, I mean, no disrespect, half of the teachers can't control their classrooms.
Right.
Kids aren't listening to teachers outside the classroom. So, I mean, the traditional people that we would think would be doctors, lawyers, police, definitely not police officers.
Yeah, not anymore.
But, and it's crazy. Like, people used to want to be police when they grow up.
Yeah.
Not no more.
Not
now,
anymore.
You grow up, you know.
Yeah. And let me say this. I know coming up during my time, and Leonard just mentioned some of teachers were very, very revered when I was coming up. And so there's teachers now that, that are still living, and, there's a few that have passed on that I could say truly helped to mold me in my life. But, when I look at some of these teachers who I could say that are still here, and I could say definitely played a part in molding who David Coker is, I could truly say they influenced me to be who I am or who I became. When I look at some of the other type of people like a pastor or even when we look at when we couldn't have been any more prouder when Barack Obama took that step and became the president of the United States. And he had a person alongside of him who stood next to him that we were proud to say was a great first lady. Okay. And when we look at that and we see those two and then we look at what came in after that, and believe it or not, they were influenced. Both of them were influencers too. Not necessarily for the right things. Okay. Like, his wife was a fashionista type influencer, but we know all the craziness that this guy, the last president we had, did. But when you look at it, it's a tough thing. Influencers nowadays, when we look at it, and here again, I'm bringing it back full circle. Here again, is it the white influencers that seem to be influencers the most, and they're the ones that's making all of the money? Because when you look at these top influencers, of course, after they get to a certain amount of people following them, they get paid for this because they get all these endorsements, they get everything. And, I've read numbers as far as the followers earlier, to the top 10. Now, those numbers go up every day. Those numbers that I gave are not the same numbers that they are at this very moment. Right. So you think, a lot of these guys are over 500 million followers. How does somebody get 500 million people to follow them?
So, I feel like it just kind of goes back in the day where, the same type of things like sports figures, entertainers, people on TV. Their reach is just so wide. So kind of like, okay, a teacher, her reach is going to be the school, maybe a couple people live in the city. If you're a professional basketball player, you're reaching people across America, heavily diluted in your city, and people across the world. So, like when I think of influencers, or what it takes to be an influencer, one is they have to have mass appeal, appeal that just, stretches across, multiple cities, states, not all of them, but, a lot of them have money because, I think part of the appeal of an influencer is seeing somebody that you want to be like. And, so if somebody has the best car, I like that person. somebody has the best clothes, if somebody has the tightest girl, like I feel like those are all things that, we see, we like Beyonce said, like I see it, I want it, like we see it and they give us an idea of what we want. And, I think as far as, it's kind of like part two, influencers are kind of like walking billboards.
Yeah.
So, it's like, okay, if you have enough people, or they're like their own TV channel. They have so many people following them. They put up whatever commercial it is, people flock to it. So, I always think about, Rihanna's makeup line selling out in minutes. Kendall Jenner, like they promote something. Like not only is it selling, like a lot of their stuff is like selling out quick. Like I know Beyonce's Ivy Park line website crash. Like Dave, can you imagine us selling something and so many people going on it, the website crashing?
Right. And think about it in another way. You talk about Beyonce. Beyonce has the Beehive.
Yeah.
Right.
A
And you can't
following.
look. You can't say anything bad about Beyonce. And throw shade at Beyonce because you're going to have millions of people coming back at you because that's how many people follow her, and have her back, But I just feel that this seems to me that the people who are making the most money, though, are people that don't look like us.
Well, one thing we talked about last week, for anyone who listened to our last show, I think it was episode number 3 or 4, but we talked about how the social media platforms
are set up.
They're kind of pushing. Well, hold on. If we even go a little bit farther, the people who are the founders and CEOs of these platforms are not African American.
No.
A majority of the tech workers for these platforms are not African American. No. So we probably shouldn't be surprised that the people who are getting pushed to the forefront are not African American. And there was something on TikTok, I'm sure Instagram, but TikTok creators who are creating dances were saying that, okay, they're the creators of these dances, but, some non-black people are taking them and they're skyrocketing. Yeah,
JoJo Siwa is one of, she's made she's unbelievable how many followers this young girl has. And she's one of these people that are taking these dances that are being created by blacks. When I go on TikTok, there's a couple of guys that I always see dancing all the time. I've seen some of their dances recreated, and I say, how when you go on and you start doing these dances, or you have to say to yourself, if this thing hits, how do I protect myself? How do I make any money from this? Okay. It's crazy when you look at this. And you see all the celebrities that have gotten on to like TikTok and some of these other things. Like I see a lot of videos from Will Smith on there.
Yeah.
Will said I remember reading an article when he first got on TikTok, he said he didn't want to do it, and he said, but his family made him do it. And then he said he got hooked. Yeah. And some of the stuff he does on there is crazy. It's funny.
Well, I almost feel like it's an attention type thing too. So like
you're always going to be in somebody's mind.
So like I remember even when he got on Instagram, he was up to like 50 million. Well, maybe not 50 million, but I mean he reached 1 million followers probably in like an hour.
Well, that's what happened. You heard what happened with Jay-Z. Jay-Z went on there and then he shut it down real quick. And he already had over 1 million followers in 20 minutes. I think it was 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah, I followed him.
Yeah. And then he shut it down.
I mean, he didn't even have a post up. Now, one thing I was thinking when we speak about these influencers, how many of these influencers are darker in color? So, a lot of the ones we're thinking about, Beyonce, Rihanna, like these are all the lighter shades. Yeah. I wonder who is that first darker skinned influencer.
It's so funny that you said that because I was on Facebook yesterday. Somebody had posted a picture of I think I've seen this picture before of some of Hollywood's top black actresses, and they posted their ages because they all were 50 and older, like Taraji P. Henson, Angela Bassett, who else was in the picture? Lynn Whitfield, who was 68. I think she was the oldest one. Who else was in that picture? There's about 5 or 6 of them. Oh, Holly Berry was in the picture, of course, And I'm looking at all these pictures, and all these women were the same shade, just about, or lighter, and so forth and so forth. You know who I didn't see in the picture, who I thought should have been in there?
Who?
What you call him? Viola Davis, because she is one of those type of actresses that should have been sitting there, but she wasn't in that picture. Why? Because she's a dark-skinned female.
Yeah.
And she would have threw that picture off because there was no darker-skinned females in that picture.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely think of that. Andre 3000 had a quote saying, darker people across cultures suffer more.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, and we know that to be true. So, like, even Indians, like, of course, in India, they have the caste system, and darker Indians, are treated differently, are usually poorer. We know Asians, Asians are going to whip on the suntan, the sunscreen. And, unfortunately here in America, we speak about colorism, and, I'm a little bit lighter skinned, but, I think that's just something we all know about.
Well,
we all hear about.
when you think about it, though, and we look at that, when we look at that whole thing, it definitely has legs. It definitely means something. It definitely means that we do have a issue. And like I said, the theme of our show, if you guys have been listening, and if you have any comments, feel free to put it in the chat and let us know what your thoughts are on this. You're listening to Newz and Trendz with Dave and Lynn. You just want to make sure that you pay attention to all that's going on around you. When you look at the people, even when our president, forever president, was put in the office, they said that they were careful to pick a person of a certain skin color to be our first black president. Because if he was too dark, he probably would have never gotten in there.
Threatening.
Yeah, you would have never got that particular person in there. So when you look at these things and you look at who the influences are, based on the colors of their skin and so forth, it really makes you think when you look at all that is fair and all that is equal when it comes to these type of things. Is it fair? I don't think it's fair. Personally, I don't think that the people making all the money are people that are of the lighter persuasion or the whiter persuasion.
Right.
But it's the world we live in right now. It's really a shame, and I would think that everybody should have the same chance to be able to make the monies and to do the things that are necessary out there to be able to make a living and to be able to put themselves out like that. But unfortunately, it's not like that, and here we are.
Yeah, I think if we don't know anything, I think we know life is not fair. And what you get is not always what you deserve, and what you deserve is not always what you get.
Yeah, it's ugly. It really is. And like I said, and taking a look, when we talked about the things that we were going to talk about today, as you can see, everything that we talked about kind of tied together. It wasn't done necessarily by design, but it's all right there. It's the world we live in. We're being influenced by people that we don't know necessarily why we're following these people. If a person says buy this because it looks good on me, don't mean it's going to look good on you.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you're spending that money to buy that because this person is telling you. And when I read those two definitions, it's telling you in the definitions that this person is a salesperson.
Yeah. No, I definitely, I think it's kind of like, okay, if Beyonce's on TV advertising perfume, what's the difference between her being on TV advertising perfume and advertising on her Instagram?
Right.
Same thing.
Right.
And the only difference is she's probably cutting out the middleman and getting a fatter check.
Well,
and doing it more on her terms.
But why do you think the Home Shopping Network and QVC are so popular, especially when they have the people, if they have a product line done by a celebrity, and that celebrity comes on to sell that product, that's when they sell the most of those things that they're advertising, because the celebrity is on there saying, buy my stuff.
Right.
Okay? Or if they put their name, attach their name to it, it's going to sell.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, we're all of our lives, we talked about buying, you know, it's all about the name brands, right?
Yeah.
You know?
You ain't never lied.
It's all about the name brands. You come to school with some Bobo type stuff on, everybody's going to laugh at you, say, what is that you got on? You know, you got to come in, you know, you say to your parents, I can't wear that to school. You know, come on, you got to do, I can't wear this, you know. It had to have some kind of tag on it or a name on it, you know. And so, but this is where we are. So, but I wanted to say, you guys have been listening to Newz and Trendz with Dave and Len. We want to thank you for tuning in tonight. We are wrapping up the show. We want to say we hope that we said something that will hold some weight and give you a chance to think about it and everything. We didn't want to try to get into making this we didn't want to sound like we were hating on anything or whatever the case may be, but we just want to make sure that people are woke, you know, and paying attention to the stuff that's going on out there.
Yep. And, you know, just closing out, you know, we recognize there are a lot of things going on around us. You know, make sure you're asking questions. Make sure you're doing your research. A no is not a no. I'm sorry, a no doesn't have to be a no.